Hello, good afternoon, and welcome to Midday Live on TV3 with me, Stephen Nt. Let's look at the headlines on the top of the hour this afternoon. 36,849 BEC candidates meets cutoff point for SHS placement. Meanwhile, 150,770 candidates could not be placed in a school of their choice. We will be speaking with the National Coordinator Computerized School Selection System, and the Tamale Metropolitan Chief Executive rubbishes 2017 Open Defecation Free Report, which ranked his assembly last on the Open Defecation League. In international news, North Korea says it has successfully tested a nuclear weapon that could be loaded onto a long-range missile. Right, details of these stories coming up over the hour. Let's begin now. Over 36,000 basic certificate examination school BEC students have not been placed in their schools of choice because they failed in either English or mathematics. 468,060 candidates sat for the examinations, comprising 241,145 males and 226,906 females, a 1.53% increase in that of 2016. A statement by the education regulator Friday said out of the total 460,941 registered candidates, 424,92 students qualified to be placed in the various secondary schools across the country. The Ghana Education Service has meanwhile in a statement announced that the 2017-18 academic year for all senior high schools will commence on September 11, 2017. Let's get on to the telephone lines very quickly and speak with Mark Sasu, Mensa, who is the National Coordinator of the Computerized School Selection Placement Secretariat, CSSPS, is joining us. Good evening, good afternoon, sir, and thank you. We're grateful you could join us. Now, 267,327 candidates secured places in schools of their choice, and some 150,770 candidates could not be placed in a school of their choice. So what happens to those who could not be placed in schools of their choice? Hello, sir.
Hello.
Yes, sir. Did you hear me, sir?
Yes, please. I was just in a meeting, so I just came out.
Great. Okay. I apologize. I'm saying that the figures show that 150,770 candidates were unable to be placed in their schools of choice. I'm asking, what happens to them?
Yes, thank you very much, and let me just my greetings to your listeners. Well, to be very frank with you, every year we do this, and definitely we experience those circumstances. What I'd like to put forward is that there are a lot of students who chose about 4 schools, and out of the 4 schools that they chose, they weren't able to get any of the 4 schools. Therefore, they remain unplaced.
I know that, but I'm asking what happens to them, because yes, that's the critical thing, that they passed. They didn't fail. They passed. They met the selection point, and they're supposed to be placed. But all 4 of their schools, they didn't get.
You buy your scratch card. You go to that portal. Then you choose the available school that has been placed.
Interesting. Now, I've heard numerous reports of concerns raised by parents about wrong placements, about wrong computation of their raw score, which eventually go against their award. So how come that these concerns are coming up when the computerized...
Well, to be very frank, I don't know what wrong computation are you talking about.
Right. I have a typical example which came to my attention from a pupil in the Volta region whose scores were computed wrongly. For example, her core subject scores were computed, and then when it came to two other scores, instead of using her strongest or her best, they use her weakest. And it's clear that if you look at the...
No, let me tell you, I think that there have been a lot of emphasis changes in the system. You understand it? Because one, if you really want to just use the core as a means of grading them and using the two other bests, then we make more emphasis on the core, your best four core subjects, which is the core subject that we use to grade you. This is English, integrated science, social studies. Hello.
Yes, I'm hearing, sir. I'm listening, sir.
And math. These are the emphasis that we use to grade you than any other two best subjects that you had. But the emphasis more is placed on English and maths. Therefore, that's the main reason why people have that kind of notion. And
no, but this particular example I have is it's clear that she had 8 ones, and then out of all the 8 ones, she did 8 subjects, so she had 7 ones, and then she had one subject which is 2, which she scored 2. I know that you don't use the grades, but because the raw scores are not made open to students and their families, you only have to have a fair idea of which subjects were used.
No,
so
yes, this time we are not using, I think you people have no, we are not using raw scores to grade them. We are using aggregates this time round.
Okay, so
we are not using raw scores again. We are using aggregate, please.
Okay, so I know I'm asking a specific question, so I will be grateful if you could be patient with me so that I could come up with the information of this person I have whose concerns. I mean, the concern reflects a lot of concerns I've had. This person had did 8 subjects, aggregate 6, and then she had her English language 1, social studies 1, religious and moral education 2, mathematics 1, integrated science 1, and EVEL, that's a local language, Ghanaian language 1, and BD and home economics 1. Now, in the computation of the scores, of course, her four core will surely be 4. That is, if she's used the grade point to score her, that will be 4. But the next 2 best subjects, the system chose religious and moral education, which she had 2, and then one other which she had 1. Whilst ICT, for example, she had 1, wasn't selected.
Well, I don't know that what is trying to. I mean, unless of course we find it from the system.
Right. So
yes, please, I'm coming. Unless of course we find it from the system, because the issue that you are raising of at least must be desired, and I just want him to report to our office so that we can look into it and further explain.
Right, definitely, they will be reporting.
Yes, I don't think the computer will.
Right, I mean, I do not expect that we can get
we base our answers on the 4 core subjects and any other 2 subjects, making 6 subjects to grade you. Therefore, if it just happened like, because one that you've had, I would like to also ask some questions. How was he able to also, the student to also identify that we used ICT to grade him? Because I don't really get it. I don't really.
Right. I mean, definitely, parents who are affected have very short time to actually lodge a complaint.
Yes,
I mean,
because I don't see the reason why he would say that affected person would say that we used the aggregate to grade him instead of the one that he had.
No, but that's what it is.
I don't know.
That's what it is. I mean, I have all the results and computation from this candidate. That's what it is.
If the affected person had about all the core subjects 1, which is English, math, science, integrated science, and social studies, then that means and any 2 or subjects, the best 2 subjects, then I think that definitely the person had 6.
The person has 6, but she was placed on a 7 grading and she missed her first choice. So this is a real example.
So the fact, let me explain the issues to you. The fact that he missed her first choice doesn't mean that maybe we use the 2 to grade him. Maybe it depends upon I don't know the school that he chose. What school did he choose, please?
Well, I don't want to go on air to tell you which schools, but if you
Yes,
insist,
because,
I can tell you that she chose Wesley Girls as her first choice.
Let me tell you something. Hello.
Yeah,
Let me tell you something. For example, if
right,
you
so
go to school, if you go to school like Wegehe and the likes, let me tell you that there are a lot of people who also had a good grades, but they weren't able to get because of the performance of those people in those subject areas. For example, those programs like the science is very competitive, very high. You can even get all the A's, but you can't get access to it. You can't get access to admission.
Right.
But if you go to maybe Wegehe, a person can get, let's say, aggregate maybe 8 ones or 7 ones choosing science in Wesley Girls. She wouldn't get it. But a person who chose maybe home econs or general arts, who had maybe OSIS, could get it because of the nature of the competition that is raging between.
Right, Mrs. Sasu Mensa, we're grateful for your time extremely. I know that many parents and family members who are affected by this computer placement systems have been trying hard to get the hearing. They have 24 hours to do so, and there have been concerns about the websites breaking down and all of that. So a lot of factors are making it very difficult for those who have genuine concerns to get to your outfit. But I'm pretty positive that we will continue discussing this a lot more until a lot of fairness have been achieved in this. Let's move away from computer placement to Tamale, where the Metropolitan Assembly Mayor, Tamale Mayor, has rubbished the 2017 Open Defecation Free Report, which ranked his assembly last on the open defecation list. Musa Superior says fairness and accuracy are lacking in the ratings. He's therefore demanding for the criteria for the rankings.
Open defecation is an overage problem confronting the northern region. The government of Ghana, in collaboration with UNICEF, therefore adopted the Community-Led Total Sanitation, CLTS, as an effective tool in curbing open defecation. The CLTS comes up with annual situational reports on the menace. This time around, out of the 26 MMDAs in the northern region, Mion District came first with 73 points on the second open defecation free rankings. Tamale Metro came 26th on the list with 10 points. In Tamale, only a few of the 34,359 household population have toilet facilities, with parts of the city engulfed with filth. But Mayor Musa Superior, however, disagrees with the marks.
What I want these examiners to do is to rank metropolises and rank municipal assemblies, and then they do district assembly based on even the population of the city. We have a massive population of close to about 250,000 people, and for such an analysis to conclude that we always last anyway. But I tell you, we're doing our best.
He bemoans the accuracy and fairness in the rankings.
I have argued strongly against this criteria. I think it has to be looked at because the basis for which such a decision has been taken is completely unfair.
Musa, however, admits poor drains and indiscriminate dumping of refuse are challenges in his metropolis. He has vowed to soon wage a war on residents who contribute to the unsanitary situation. This is his view on the national sanitation exercise.
A total disaster. It hasn't been properly supervised, the resources haven't been injected in. Sometimes it's left with the Minister of Local Government completely wanting. If you are a local government, you should do things outside what the national do. We should be able to do things on our own and deliver on the objectives of the Metropolitan Assembly.
He says he is determined to make the metropolis one of the cleanest in Ghana. That, Superior says, is an attainment of Sustainable Development Goal 6, which targets achieving access to adequate and equitable sanitation and hygiene for all, and to end open defecation by 2030.
And the Ga East Municipal Assembly says it will decommission the Ibaka Landfill site due to the health hazards it poses to scavengers and residents. Scavengers risk contracting diseases because there were no protective gears.
The Ibaka Landfill site is Accra's largest waste disposal site, commissioned some 19 years ago. 1,000 tons of garbage generated and collected by waste management organizations in the capital end up here. More than 60 trucks and tricycles come to dump refuse daily. Although the places full and near the commissioning stage, constant emission of carbon dioxide as a result burning of heaped garbage has created discomfort for settlers nearby. This activity is said to be executed by scavengers. Numbering about 50, the Ibaka Landfill site serves as a safe haven and lucrative business for scavengers. This woman, I call Mary for the purposes of this story, is a mother of 3 and a single parent. Mary can neither read nor write. She said she was compelled to take up this job to enable her cater for her children's education. Mary, like other women, compete with men daily over scavenging here. In fact, her family's livelihood depends on this.
I have been in this business since the last 2 years, and it's been good.
A job of this nature takes courageous persons to do. When business is good, a scavenger makes between 50 and 70 cedis daily. This, they say, sustains them. They, however, risk contracting diseases because most of them have no protective gears.
Officials from the Ga East Municipal Assembly have been educating us on the use of safety wears, but some of us are just stubborn.
The Ga East Municipal Assembly, however, claimed the meeting scheduled to register the scavengers onto the National Health Insurance Scheme did not materialize. Chief Environmental Health Technologist at Ga East Municipal Assembly, Derek Tata Anku, explains why.
They believe it was an attempt at driving them out of the dump. The initial meeting was provide them with national health insurance. But unfortunately, whatever information got to them, they decided not to be part of it.
He also said the assembly is devising a decommissioning plan of the site.
So when we even finally decide to stop dumping there, we are not even going to leave what is in stock. We have plans of reusing whatever has been heaped over the years and possibly turn the site into a transfer station.
The landfill site, if not decommissioned, will increase residents' risk of contracting diseases.
Now, experts in forestry have warned that Ghana's natural forests are at risk of being depleted in the next 10 to 20 years. Clearing of lands for residential use and for farming, as well as the high rate of illegal timber logging, have threatened Ghana's forests. Data from the Forestry Commission indicates that about 65,000 hectares of forest are degraded every year, and this has been getting worse over the year. Let's quickly get onto the telephone lines and speak with Skype, I beg your pardon, and speak with Darrell Bosu, who is the Deputy National Director of Operations at the Arocha, Ghana. Good evening, sir. Thank you. Good afternoon. I beg your pardon. I'm used to coming here in the evenings. Good afternoon, sir. Thank you. So we're grateful for your time. Now, how threatened are our forests from say illegal mining, illegal logging, farming, and residential use, etc.?
Hello, Stephen?
Yeah, I can hear you.
I can't hear you. Come again, please.
Right. So I'm asking how threatened our forests are by human activities like illegal logging and farming and residential use.
Yes, thank you, Stephen. I think if you look at current statistics on our forest reserves, Ghana has lost significant forest due to several human impact activities on our forest reserves. And I would say that we've really lost so much forest that, as you all know, we are not even able to meet our domestic lumber needs for our furniture, construction works, and all of that. And I have to say that almost all the forest reserves in the country, or both protected and production reserves, are all somehow under siege from several illegal activities. And you know, illegal logging, or what you call chainsaw operations, is very rampant in most of these forest reserves. Also, we know of some of the illegal mining activities going on in these forest reserves. And I mean, it cannot be understated. There's the numbers, the statistics, the forest loss cover, and all of that indicates that we have really lost so much forest to human impact activities. I mean, the thing is that it is actually the first driver of deforestation and degradation in our forest reserves in this country.
Now, there are also concerns about the public procurement policy for timber and timber products in Ghana. What exactly are your worries there?
Yes, I think that the issues has to deal with how we ensure that even within the public procurement sector, there is some serious monitoring of what really goes on. Because there are instances where we've seen people who actually in their bidding or tendering processes put in particular quotations for timber products that are needed. But actually, when you really go down to it, they don't really ensure that these things are done. So that is what we are concerned about. And we want to make sure that government ensure that these procurement processes are adequate enough to cover what people are doing actually on the field.
Right, Daraboso, I will see that you have a distraction from your family, but let's see if you can answer one more question. Before we go, there are lots of people who depend on wood for their everyday use at homes, cheaper wood, etc. What happens to them now that we appear to be at the verge of not getting any wood for timber at all?
Well, I think the concern is more had to do with need for timber for our wood resources. But right now, when it comes to people who need wood for charcoal, I think that is not a problem because in the off-reserve areas, there's a number of several wood lots and all of these things available for people to source from.
Right.
The concern is the availability of timber commodities for our lumber industry and also for export if we really want to do that. So basically for wood resources, for charcoal and all of that, that is not really the problem. The problem has to do with sufficient timber resources for our lumber needs, for domestic furniture construction, and also even infrastructure development. All of these things is where the concern is.
Right, Mr. Boss.
Issues with the forest depletion issues,
Daraboso, we're grateful for your time. Thank you extremely. Daraboso is a Deputy National Operations Manager at Arocha, I beg your pardon. I see that he was distracted by the little ones who don't want him to get a life and dragging him all over the place. It does happen with family members, men with children. Anyway, jealous children. Let's move on. Over 500 health facilities on immunization program in the country currently are without appropriate cold chain management to store vaccines, which could affect the potency of vaccines. Vaccines health experts say there are sensitive biological products which must be protected from temperature extremes.
Vaccination of children has helped eradicate certain vaccine-preventable diseases and deaths in the country. According to the World Health Organization, WHO, globally each year, vaccines prevent more than 2.5 million child deaths. An additional 2 million child deaths could be prevented each year through vaccination. A vaccine's ability to adequately protect the vaccinated patient can diminish when the vaccine is exposed to inappropriate temperatures. Ghana recently launched a campaign for parents and caregivers to complete the full schedule of immunization on time from birth to 2 years. However, as efforts are made to save the lives of children from vaccine-preventable diseases, one area of concern to stakeholders in immunization advocacy is Ghana's vaccine cold chain management. Some vaccines are sensitive to freezing, some to heat and others to light. And the purpose of the vaccine cold chain is to maintain product quality from the time of manufacture until the point of administration by ensuring that vaccines are stored and transported within WHO recommended temperature ranges. Program Manager of the Expanded Immunization Program of the Ghana Health Service, Dr. George Bonsu, noted there are lapses within the vaccine cold chain management in the country.
We have a gap even at national level. We need extra storage space at national level. We have gaps in some district and health centers. There are over 500 health facilities immunization currently without cold chain. And what they do is that they pick their vaccines from the nearest facility and then use the vaccines in cold boxes and then send the remaining back at the end of the day. That's not the best.
National Chair of the Coalition of NGOs in Health, Dr. Bernard Benako, described the storage of vaccines at some health facilities as worrying.
Some of the challenges we are seeing at the district level is they don't have adequate facilities to store the immunization commodities. And when you move to the sub-district, it's much more serious. We identified some discrepancies in the storage of immunization facilities.
Dr. Bonsu, however, assured of efforts underway to address the lapses.
We have built a proposal now to make sure we provide each facility in the country with vaccines. Of course, some will get solar, the other refrigerators, depending on the power source over there.
Dr. Bernard Benako wants government to collaborate with the private sector to address the challenge.
For the health sector, we will want government to enter PPP arrangement with other pharmaceutical and other health investors so that we can have adequate storage facilities at the community and the sub-district level.
As Ghana strives to ensure parents and caregivers complete the full schedule of immunization on time from birth to 2 years, storage of the vaccines must also be taken into consideration. For TV3, AC Benewa Nyame.
And residents of Pong in the Lower Manya Krobo municipality of the Eastern region are constructing a 3-unit classroom block through communal labor, one of the town's basic school blocks, which accommodates some 150 pupils, is a death trap.
The Pong Presby Junior High School was established in 1964. The 53-year-old structure has never been given a facelift. Teaching and learning halts anytime the crowds gather to allow pupils and teachers seek refuge elsewhere. Enrollment keeps dwindling due to poor state of the school block. The residents, led by the old students and youth groups, would not wait for government intervention or any mishap. For more than 10 months, they raised funds and engaged in communal labor to commence the construction of a 3-unit block. Work, however, stalled over a period owing to lack of funds, even though that would not deter the determined community. In May, work resumed through the intervention of Klumagbi, an advocate group in the Krobo area.
Educational mentorship program called Taking Them Along, TTA. And so we visited this school and realized, academic performance was just on the decline. It was getting worse and worse and worse. And so we decided to come out with some investigations. And in the course of the investigation, we realized the environment was also not helping. So we couldn't only come around and talk to them and watch them study in an environment like this. It was not going to work. And we jumped in, rallied the community, in partnership with the church and some other volunteers. And that's what we've been able to come out with.
As it stands now, we have not completed the building. We'll need to complete and furnish it. We'll need computers. We'll need furniture for the classroom. And so we'll still appeal to the public, individuals, corporate organizations that will want to help us. I think what we are doing here today is going to translate a lot into the economy of Ghana.
149,500 cedis out of an estimated 250,000 cedis has so far been spent on the project.
And boat operators on the Oti River at Dambai in the Karachi East district of the Volta region say they're losing their business due to lack of life jackets, and a new ferry in operation, Robert Abilba, was at Dambai, and reports boats with 80 passenger capacity now attract up to 10 passengers since the arrival of the new ferry.
Boats or canoes are age-old means of transportation for people living close to rivers and lakes. Inhabitants of island communities in particular depend heavily on the boats for their everyday activities. The boats or canoes are used to cut goods and persons on daily basis from one point to the other. To date, people still travel on the lakes and rivers without protective gadgets, exposing them to all sorts of dangers. In cases where the protective gadgets are made available, some boat operators and passengers reluctantly use them. Boat operators on the Oti River at Dambai are now complaining that patronage of their services have reduced. This is due partly to the non-availability of life jackets and also to the improvement of the ferry service. With the relocation of one of the century ferries to Dambai, after the completion of the Adome Bridge rehabilitation, patronage of boats have reduced. Perhaps what could help the boat operators is life jackets, which they do not have. Boat operators' appeals to NADMO for life jackets have fallen on deaf ears.
Anytime that we load, they are complaining about the life jacket because it is risky. So at times, they will leave the boat and go and join the pantu. Because of that, our work is going low.
This is still Midday Live. We're live from the news hub at Adisawe Kanda. We're more news for you. The Institute for Energy Security says it disagrees with government's decision to sell VRA's thermal plants. According to the principal research analyst of the petroleum unit at IES, Gilbert Richmond Roxon, the Volta River Authority is financially and technically challenged due to government's interference in its operations.
The situation whereby government signs energy contracts without consulting VRA has put a lot of technical and financial pressure on the power company.
Government travels outside and comes up with power purchase agreements that are so expensive, and when you come, you dump it on VRA. At the end of the day, we are all complaining about Ameri, the cost of Ameri. VRA is providing for Ameri and other IPPs as well. Government goes into these decisions sometimes without even involving VRA.
Gilbert Richmond Roxon noted VRA's $500 million indebtedness to Ghana Gas is because ECG is not paying the power generator, which has resulted from government not paying ECG for power used. IES suggested to government to leverage on the 2,500 megawatts power generated by VRA to negotiate a better pricing contract. Richmond Roxon is of the view the thermal plants are a strategic fuel and energy security.
All the IPPs, they are more expensive than what VRA does when you compare the pricing. And let's compare the IPPs, how many plants are we paying capacity charge on? And these are the things that government should pay attention to. If government does not listen and government goes ahead to offload it, we'll be here and we'll have the same challenges a year to come.
Executive Secretary of Energy Commission, Dr. Ofusu Ahinkra, said it is critical for the VRA thermal plants to operate efficiently and effectively.
There are people who do better in certain sectors. Maybe there will be somebody who can operate a thermal plant better.
Vice Chairman of the Public Interest and Accountability Committee, PIAC, Kwame Jantwa, suggested a review of up to 70% clause in the Petroleum Revenue Management Act of the annual revenue receipts that is transferred to the consolidated fund, which is allocated to the budget.
If more revenue is going to come in, then we should look at probably putting a certain quantum of that money aside, whereby we can use it to defray some of these things that would help us. We cannot sell everything. We need that innovation. And it is not one person who can bring that innovation.
And Uber Transport Company says it is ready to engage taxi drivers on their application and activities in the transport service delivery to meet customer needs. Country lead for Uber, Kofi Ejari, says the company is still in talks with government on issues of regulation for the operations of Uber drivers.
Some commercial taxi drivers in Accra have raised issues of illegality in the operations of Uber, a transportation network company which has been operating within the Accra metropolis for the past year and now in Kumasi. The Umbrella Commercial Taxi Drivers Association, Ghana, have questioned the use of private cars by Uber drivers for commercial purposes. The commercial drivers say the action of Uber drivers is in breach of the Road Traffic Act, LI 2012 Regulation 141 1B 2180. The drivers have consequently petitioned the Minister of Transport against the use of private cars for commercial purposes.
We believe it should be a level playing field. There shouldn't be different treatment for partner drivers that make use of our technology or taxi drivers. And we're committed to engaging with the regulators, and we have been, to ensure that there is a clear route to licensing for driver partners using the application, so that that allegation of unfair rules no longer applies.
Some taxi drivers contend if their issues are not addressed, they would re-spray their cars as private but use them for commercial purposes.
Someone should decide that they don't want to use technology to get matched up with their riders. They prefer to use the traditional method of going about things. We are still very open to holding sessions with taxi drivers, Uber drivers who are taxi drivers, everyone together in the same room to train people on GPS usage, to train people on customer service, to train people on what safe driving techniques and so on are, to better the transportation economy as a whole.
And fishmongers at the Dambai lakeside want a total ban on the catch, sale and use of pufferfish in the country. The fishmongers contend a temporal ban imposed by some districts in the wake of the recent fish poison disasters is not enough to resolve the threat posed by the consumption of the poisonous fish.
At least 4 persons reportedly died at Margaret Marquardt Hospital at Kwando from eating pufferfish few weeks ago. Several others were treated at the same hospital for the consumption of the poisonous pufferfish. The development has sent shivers down the spine of many, especially lovers of fish and fish products, as well as fishmongers. The dangerous pufferfish or blowfish is identified among people of Karachi East as Gede, Letampo, Blowo, Ameukbala, among others. And the fishmongers here in Dambai knew it is not a delicacy because of its perceived poisonous in nature. They contend the consumption of the fish was prompted by fetish priests and spiritualists who eat it without being harmed. As a result, and coupled with the economic hardship, the pufferfish, which hitherto is thrown back into the water as soon as it is identified among the fishes, is now a commodity in the open markets. Some fishermen in Dambai argued a ban in the Kwando municipality alone is not enough, calling for a nationwide ban. They want a law to protect the citizenry from the dangers of consuming the poisonous fish.
This is the Midday Live. We have sports and we'll be back shortly.
Time for sports news right now, here on Midday Live with me, Thierry Nyan. Let's start off with the Black Stars. They have been trending for the last few days for the negative reasons, but they trained this morning at the Accra Sports Stadium ahead of their FIFA World Cup qualifier return fixture against Congo. 23 players trained without Captain Asamoah Gyan, who picked up a knock in their game against Congo on Friday. Ghana will leave for Brazzaville on Monday morning ahead of their 2018 FIFA World Cup qualifier return leg against Congo. The Black Stars labored and came from a goal down to earn a 1-1 draw with the Red Devils at the Baba Yara Stadium on Friday. The 3-time finalists have been left with faint hopes following their result, as they remain in third place in that particular group. With 2 points from 3 matches, Ghana would need a miracle to catch with leaders Uganda, who have 7 points, and second placed Egypt with 6 points. Now, the president of the Ghana Football Association, Kwesi Nyantakyi, has picked on the other side of the discussion after a disappointing display exhibited on the field, on Friday by the Black Stars. He says it was unfortunate that the team slimmed down the country's hopes of qualifying for Russia 2018, but should not throw in the towel just yet.
Let me apologize for the team's performance and ask Ghanaians not to abandon or neglect the team. Let's keep praying for the team till the end of the competition and see what ultimately comes out as the final standing. I can't rule out Ghana out completely. We have a slim chance, but realistically, our chances diminish right after the match because we fail to take advantage of the opportunity and secure the 3 maximum points. But we still have to take part and get to the end and see what awaits us. So we pray that, but our destiny is really definitely not in our hands.
So our chances have been slimmed down to making it to the tournament in 2018. But one man who also has slim chances, but this time around when it comes to playing, is Captain Asamoah Gyan. With 2 points from 3 matches and 5 behind leaders Uganda, Gyan believes it will take more than just a miracle to reach the tournament.
Honestly, it's very, very difficult. Things didn't go well as we were expecting to, as expected, and we didn't play the way we wanted to play, like tactically, mentally. I didn't know what went wrong, but I would say the desire wasn't there. You could see even before the game, like it's one of those days that things happen. Nobody is to be blamed here, but it's one of those days that sometimes you get on the field and then the desire. I don't know what went wrong, but I think it's one of those days. It was a good pressure for us, and we thought the group had opened, and then we can make sure we win, and then we take it over from there. But it didn't happen. So as I'm talking to you, I'm a bit down. But I'm a professional footballer, and we need to just keep our heads up. We go into Congo, make sure we do what we do best, and then we see what happens at the end of the day. Because whether we like it or not, we still play in the qualifier, and then we have to play to the end, and then you might not know.
All right, so you can clearly tell from the captain, he's lost for words. He doesn't have any excuse. Everybody is at a loss as to exactly what happened with the Black Stars, even with the players themselves. But now Ghana would have to dig deep and rely on other results to make sure that they make it for the tournament. But let's move on from there. Let's go straight to the women in sports here in Ghana. And they are committed to development and promotion of sporting programs involving girls and women. And they have launched their 3rd anniversary and an Achievers Day to reward outstanding women who have contributed to Ghana sports. Gloria Commodore, who is Executive Director of the Women in Sports Association, who was an athlete and gained scholarship to travel abroad and later became a journalist, said many people have sacrificed for Ghana sports, and it is by recognizing and honoring them that the youth can do same. She hinted that there would be a health walk on September 30, and on that day about 20 outstanding personalities are going to be rewarded by Women in Sports. She pleaded with the corporate body of Ghana to contribute to the program. They will encourage more female participation in sport. She thanked the media, especially SWAG members who were present at the launch. All right, so now away from that, let's go straight to Europe. And Barcelona have said Liverpool wanted 200 million euros for playmaker Philippe Coutinho on the final day of the Spanish transfer window. And that was on Friday. Now the Reds have turned down 3 offers from the Spanish club for the 25-year-old who put in a transfer request. Liverpool were asking for 200 million, and logically, we did not want to accept that particular deal, according to the director of Barcelona, Albert Sola. He went on to thank the player for the efforts he made, because the player did his big efforts in part and showed he wanted to play for the Spanish club. Now, Barcelona wanted Coutinho after selling his Brazil teammate Neymar to Paris Saint-Germain for a world record fee of 200 million euros. Now that we end the sports bulletin, so Stephen Anti,
I know
you want to take it over.
How are you?
I'm doing
I told you that when I grow, I like to be like you, big man. Thank you very much
that's a lie.
for the sports. Right, let's do some international news now. North Korea says it has successfully tested a nuclear weapon that could be loaded onto a long-range missile. The secretive communist state said its sixth nuclear test was a perfect success hours after seismologists had detected an earth tremor. Pyongyang said it had tested a hydrogen bomb, a device many times more powerful than an atomic bomb. Analysts say the claims should be treated with caution, but it's unclear its nuclear capability is clearly advancing. Let's quickly. Right, let's quickly get onto the telephone lines. Executive Director of the Ghana Institute of Governance and Security, David Agbe, is joining us. Ms. Agbe, we're grateful you could join us. Now, this military option poses a threat to millions of South Korean civilians, especially in the capital, Seoul. Does the United States and her allies have any option than to talk, as sanctions have yielded little or no results?
Yes, Steve, I must say that the challenge of diplomacy and international relations in today's world is about science and technology. Science and technology really poses a threat to international relations and how best we can be able to control some of these missiles and some of these, weapons which are being developed by some of these countries, especially North Korea. All over, North Korea is really championing a development of, weapons in a mass, stream. And so the development of these weapons really poses a threat to the world peace. And so now what is a critical debate is the fact that the UN Security Council needs to quickly intervene. But then in terms of their interventions too, you realize that the United Nations Security Council is sharply divided as to how best they can control some of these weapons and some of these missiles which are being developed by
David,
North Korea.
David, let's look at China and the role China plays in all of this. We know that China holds the key, but it also fears the collapse of North Korea could send millions of refugees and does not like American troops just outside her borders. What more can the U.S. and her allies do to persuade Beijing to get involved or to do also?
Yes, Steve, that is why I said that the United Nations Security Council is sharply divided. I mean, the composition of UN Security Council is United States of America, UK, France, China, and Russia. And Asian, world, China is controlling the market. And so China is trying to play it very safe instead that they can be able to organize a regional body so that China, the Asian emerging country could be more, stronger.
Right.
So they are trying to deal with this matter in a very diplomatic way so that they do not offend their allies.
Right,
and so
David,
that is what is happening within the sub-region of Asia now. You realize that Japan, China, and even South Korea are saying that there should be a punishment to the North Korea, but then they are also dealing with the matter in a very diplomatic way. Do not forget that measurement of the strength of the world system now is about the military power. It's about technology.
David,
it's about the mindset.
David Agbe, we're grateful for your time.
So
I'm afraid we have
deal
to
with this matter in a very diplomatic way.
Right, David, we're grateful for your time. Thank you extremely. David Agbe is Executive Director of the Ghana Institute of Governance and Security. Let's do some entertainment news now. Reggae dancehall musician David Kumoji, stage named Togbi Ghana, has joined the campaign against illegal mining with his latest single, Stop Galamsey. He believes the campaign is urgent to conserve the arable lands and river bodies.
As government steps up the fight against illegal mining, many entertainers have found it prudent to join the campaign. Playwright Lateef Abubakar dedicated his recent play, Saints and Sinners, to conscientize Ghanaians on the need to say no to Galamsey. Rising reggae dancehall musician Togbi Ghana has also contributed a song to support the campaign.
Stop it! Stop it! Stop it! Stop the Galamsey!
It's our must to support the government in a way so we could at least have a good drinking water, a good environment that we can stay in. So I take it upon myself to do this particular song to support the country.
The song encourages the youth who have been affected by the campaign not to throw their hands up in despair, but channel their energies into agriculture to conserve lands and river bodies.
Basically, we would say there are so many things you can do as a Ghanaian, not basically destroying our natural resources. You know, as you can see right now, we have so many resources around us. It's better we develop those resources. So it's better they stop the Galamsey and adapt to other things like farming, you know, because there's a lot of food in farming and all that. We can export the farm product to other countries that can generate a lot of capitals for us in our country.
Togbi Ghana, real name David Kumoji, encouraged government not to give up on the campaign.
Message to the people out there is to know that if our forefathers didn't protect this for us to come and meet today, we ain't going to meet this as well, you know. So it's about time I should come together to protect this natural resources, so our children will also come and meet this and be proud of us.
Stop the Galamsey in Ghana. Stop it.
And on that Galamsey note, Stop Galamsey, I was expecting to hear some dancehall rhythms and patois and all of that. But on that interesting note, that's how we end Midday Live, which came to you from our news hub at Adisawe Kanda. We're also streaming on our Facebook page. I'm Stephen MT. Enjoy the rest of our programs and have a good weekend.